There is something wrong. Shouldn't you already know? Should've spelled it out. Let me put it in a song. Every time you make that face, like crawling toward damaged space. Out of sync and out of tune. A frequency I can't undo. Please listen close.
Hello, and welcome to FFS. I'm your host, Paulina Galindo. Tonight, let's have a little chat about the economy. Unemployment has been historically low for a while now. While it did rise from 3.9 to 4% this month, that is still well below what experts call the historical average of 5.96. I can tell you're wondering, what the fuck is the historical average? Did they count how many people had jobs right after the revolution or some shit? No. The historical average is the average unemployment rate of all the months from 1948 until now. Why does it start in 1948, you ask? Simply, the government didn't bother to keep track of it before then. So, our unemployment is low, but that is only one piece of our economy. What about the stock market? Well, that's booming too, with numbers hitting records almost daily. Hell, even wages have risen 5.4% since 2022. Listen to Biden talk about how amazing the economy is doing.
Guess what? Bidenomics is working. When I took office, the pandemic was raging and our economy was reeling. Supply chains are broken, millions of people unemployed, hundreds of thousands of small businesses on the verge of closing after so many had already closed. Literally hundreds of thousands on the verge of closing. Today, the U.S. has the highest economic growth rate, leading the world economies since the pandemic, the highest in the world.
That's amazing, right? Right? Then would someone care to fucking explain to me why I can't afford to buy eggs? No, seriously, I want someone to explain this to me. No? Well, I guess it's up to me to do it again. The answer is inflation. Since 2020, consumer prices have risen right around 20%. That is absolutely insane. That means if something costs $100 in 2020, today it costs $120. Some things have hit even worse than that 20% average, with eggs rising at almost 50% since 2020. Yeah, that 5.4 wage increase seems like fucking bullshit now, doesn't it? It's because it is. In the wake of 20% inflation, an increase in salary of 5% is actually a pay cut of 15%.
Rach, we have $435 to last us till the end of the month. Okay?
What?
Actually, till February 4th.
That's even worse.
I know.
When we report on how great the economy is doing, do you feel that?
I don't feel it. I don't doubt that it's gotten better, but nothing necessarily feels like it really got easier on us. I don't feel like I'm getting a break anywhere.
Yeah, that's not great. Americans are swimming up to their eyeballs in debt with working multiple jobs to live a life that was accessible in 2019 on just one job. The American dream is being stripped away from us as we speak. If you don't have a house now, you cannot but give up on the dream of one day owning a house. And if you do own a house, you can pray that rising costs don't mean you end up foreclosed, all while President Biden is going on and on about how well the economy is doing. It's infuriating to hear people talk about how the stock market is soaring and the rich are raking in the profits while the middle class is unable to even eat. Now, it would be easy to blame Biden for the state of the economy, and he really needs to stop with this tone-deaf rhetoric. But the reality is that the president really has no control over the economy. America is built on capitalism, and that means a free market. There really is no button a president can push that can magically make inflation come to a halt. He's not a wizard, and he can make the CEO stop price gouging us. And that leads us to the main point. The real cause of inflation is corporate greed. While we're struggling, corporate profits are the highest they've been since the 1950s. At the same time, we're getting hit with shrinkflation. That's right. Corporations have realized that consumers are getting pissed about their soaring prices, so they came up with a solution. Was that solution to take a hit in profits to help fight inflation and take the strain off consumers? Fuck no. They hide the inflation behind smaller sizes, so if you originally bought an item for $10, you are still buying that item for $10, but you get less of that item to make up for what the price would have gone up.
Shoppers have been reporting their findings to Swarovski. Take this bag of Doritos, for example. In March, it was reportedly 9.75 ounces, but is now 9.25 ounces. And in 2020, a family-sized box of Wheat Thins was 16 ounces, but is now 14 ounces. On Reddit, an entire thread is dedicated to shrinkflation. On Sunday, one user posted a picture of a salad they say they bought from Walmart in June that was 17.25 ounces, alongside the same one purchased this month that was 12.5 ounces.
Paper goods is one of the big categories, margarine, hot dogs.
The smaller the product, the faster it runs out, resulting in you needing to replenish it more often.
That's some sneaky bullshit right there. So not only are goods skyrocketing in price, but the few that have remained stable are just getting smaller instead. So what do corporations have to say about this? Well, they claim that they're just trying to cover the increasing cost of the raw materials and that they have no choice but to pass those price hikes onto the consumer. But that just doesn't pass the bullshit detector. How is any corporation forced to pass the costs onto the consumer while their profits soar? You see, if we look back at 1960s America, we can see economic indicators as today, except one. The profits of the corporations fell by 5.8%. This means that wages of the time rose at a rate more than inflation. Workers saw a meaningful increase in their wages. Today, we see the exact opposite. So if we expect to come out of this ahead, the answer is higher wages and a reduction in corporate profits. The reality, though, is that corporations aren't going to do this willingly. And the president, as we said earlier, really has no power over them. So how can we make this happen? The first step is to unionize.
Felt this good about the future in the past?
Never, 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 absolutely never, and no one else that is local has either.
Has it personally changed your life? Can you tell us about that?
Oh, yes, it did.
Before this came, it pretty wasn't much of no feature. Walmart Supercenter, that was like the club.
Opportunity. It's not just knocking, it has arrived.
What's happening here doesn't feed the day-to-day news circus, so you probably haven't heard of it. But it also left me confused. At a time when life in America often feels like more of the same, in a bad way, why are workers in West Tennessee so optimistic about their jobs in the future?
It's about why you're standing here today.
Oh, because I am so fully unionized, it's so fun. And we never knew of unions and things of this nature. The kids got Invisaligns, brand new glasses, the whole 9 yards. It's awesome. It's a blessing.
How's it impacted your life?
Man, tremendously. My life completely changed, man. I got things now that I never thought I could have. One thing speaking, it's generational wealth. I'm working on that.
It's going to change the family unit because there's a big difference in making $15 an hour and making $25 an hour and making that $25 an hour with a full benefits package.
I just put an infrastructure law in, so plenty of work going to be around here for the union. Got pensions, all this good Medicare for my kids. I mean, it's the best thing to happen.
It seems overly simplistic, but unions have been the backbone of the workers in this country since before the turn of the century. Unions took us out of the sweatshops and gave us the 5-day work week. As one person fighting for a better wage and the ability to survive on one job, you are replaceable. But once you're part of a union, the entire workforce is not replaceable. It's been the right-wing politicians backed by the corporate CEOs that have gutted the unions and convinced the workers that they didn't need the help of the union. In 2023, there were only 10% of American workers in a union. That is compared to the high of 23% in the 1950s. How did union membership fall so much in this country? With anti-union bullshit like this.
You see, the company wants to hear new ideas. For instance, the people greeters in our stores who make customers feel welcome, that was an associate's idea.
It sounds like employees, associates, they're listened to.
And without going through union politicians.
Of course not. You see, management recognizes our associates. We know that our associates' ideas are good. Associates even came up with suggestions about our work schedules.
And they use some of them right away.
Russell, you know of any union that works like that?
Of course not. All unions work at is taking a cut out of my pay.
Yeah, take your money and spend it to help in political campaigns. You help people I don't even vote for.
Yeah, me too. But they're never gonna do that to me again.
You were in a union?
Yep, but no more. You see, I'm one of the hundreds of thousands of former union workers, or members. I'm one of the thousands of reasons unions are getting so much smaller.
Well, Dane was in a union too.
Yeah, I was in a union. You know, where I worked, union rules made it so we couldn't even rush a shipment. And we kept on losing customers and money till the truck line shut down.
Yeah, that's some bullshit right there. It's funny how one side wants to, quote, make America great again, and when pressed about that, it's usually clear that the time they're referring to is the 1950s. but they pushed back against unions, one of the main drivers of that era that made us the economic powerhouse that we were. So if it's not that, what else about that period do they feel made it greater than today? Oh, there's a bright side to the story, though. Union membership has seen a sharp increase in the last few years, and this might really be the key to fixing the runaway inflation that we're faced with today. And while this may not be President Biden's fault, it would be nice if when we told him we can't afford bread, his response wasn't, eat cake. And with that, I'm Paulina Galindo. We're off next week, but make sure to tune in to our next episode when we talk about prisons in America. Thank you, and good night.